I like seeing you at my mercy, but I don't like seeing you upset. There's a difference. And today, Jen and I are discussing Beautiful Fiend by Lola King.
Mm-hmm.
Ah! I didn't even have to double check.
Oh,
2 points. Right? Is that right? Oh, I got super excited.
yes.
Okay, yay!
Oh, Mistie.
Okay. So, there's quite an interesting story behind this book.
Yeah, Mistie, why don't you tell the audience what this interesting story is?
So this book came out of our buddy jar and we read it. And by we, I mean Jen read it. And I
Mhm.
got to like 24%. And I was like, nah, I'm done. And I'll tell you why. Because I already had the book. I already knew what was going to happen. And I was very upset. And I got most everything right that I thought was going to happen. So I was like, okay, I need to take space. So we took space. We did other recordings, obviously. Then I tried reading it again and I got to 27% and I was just like, Jen, can we DNF this book, please? Because I don't want to read it. Now, granted, she read this in like a week, right? Like you read it pretty quick.
For my pace of last year, like physically reading, I think I read it. I want to say I read it in like 3 days, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So
And
I read it pretty quick for me.
this was August, right?
Uh
When we
huh.
started this? Yeah. So
Yeah.
August and it's now January. Whole new year.
Yeah.
I finally finished it last night for my 27%. Okay.
Cracks me
I
up.
was like, I don't have a choice now. Like, we have to, we're recording in the morning. Like, I have to read this. In Jen's defense, though, there were like 3 options of books I needed to read, and this is the one now.
Well, and I mean, if we're gonna, be fair about it, in your defense, I was supposed to read two different books and I haven't read those yet. So we had to figure out what we could record about today.
And
And
this is why we work so well together. We balance each other.
yes, yes.
Okay. So, yeah. So, should we talk about, okay, how do you want to do this? Because I've got a lot of things to say about this book, but I don't want to dominate the conversation because I know you really enjoyed it. I
I
have 3
mean,
things I want to talk about.
I wouldn't say I really enjoyed it. I just needed somebody else to go through this with me. I think okay, I'm going to let you start. You
Okay.
start. It's freshest for you.
Okay. So, the reason why I didn't wanna finish reading it, again, is because I had already figured it out, and it was 2 things. I knew, 1, her family was gonna turn on her. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but I knew it was gonna happen, and 2, I knew how the story was gonna go, that he was gonna end up taking the fall for her for running the arms, the weapons. So, I sorta kinda got everything right, and then I knew the last thing is that they were gonna be separated for a very long time because of the war, and it was gonna be a minute before they got their HEA, and that just pissed me off. Like, I could already feel that I didn't want it, and that's why I stopped reading it. And also, I like to use the excuse that I'm a mood reader, and I just wasn't in the mood for that. But I sorta kinda got it right, not right. Her family didn't really turn on her, but they retaliated because they knew something had transpired between them, and it caused friction?
Friction.
Friction, thank you,
You're welcome.
between Caden and Billy.
Yeah.
So I partially got that right. Him taking the fall for her, I partially got that right too. It wasn't because of the weapons, it was because they had a dead body in the car, which kind of threw me. I was like, "Okay." I still knew it was coming, but it wasn't for the actions that I thought. And then
Yeah.
I knew that they were gonna be separated, although I was happy with the length of the separation and the reason why, and then
Yeah.
why it transpired they came back together. So, in a sense, I'm gonna say I was like an 80/20 on my detective skills of reading only 24% of the book. So, yeah. But I actually ended up once I got past that 27, once it got to like 43 to like 53%, I was kind of like, okay, I'm in now.
Yeah, I think that's about where. Well, okay. So, in all honesty, initially, why what kept me going back to it is because there were so many this is going to sound awful. There were so many bad things that I didn't like that I'm like, it has to get better from here. Like, it has to like be better at some point for her. And it's almost like I kind of stayed in the book to make sure she got a happy ever after. It in that way it reminds me of Sea of Ruin for me. Like, I did not read Sea of Ruin because I was thoroughly enjoying the story. I read Sea of Ruin because the poor girl needed a fucking cheerleader and I was going to cheer that bitch on.
Good point.
And that was the same kind of, not nearly as hard for me to get through as Sea of Ruin was, but Beautiful Fiend for me was like, it's like, oh, I mean, that's the way I can explain it. Like, I was there to cheer her on, not necessarily to enjoy the story, I guess, because I wanted to see her win after going through all of that bullshit. Which I think is actually what, almost verbatim, what I said about the Sea of Ruin character. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, I don't remember. She's Jade? Pirate? Maybe the boat's called Jade? I don't know. She's a pirate.
I, yeah, that's, I don't know.
We can just call her P. Yeah, so I get that. There was a I feel like maybe just a little too much bad shit happening to her. Like, I understand that it's the North Shore, there are gangs, gang affiliation shit happens, whether it's good or bad, whether you're a part of it or not, because her family did try to keep her out of it. I just felt like too many bad things happened. And I think the one that I really thought was unnecessary was the thing with Nolan, the dude that was in her house for the house party and drugged her and took her to the hotel. Nobody
Mhm.
fucking saw a thing.
Right,
Especially
yeah.
when you're building up to this and she's constantly got eyes on her, especially from her family. We're not even talking about Caden because, he obviously came and saved her. But they're so protective of her, and yet they see somebody walking her out of the house and they don't, I don't know. I don't know. I just thought it
Yeah.
was I knew X or Zai or whatever the fuck his name is was upset because she's like, "I'm not with you, I'm with Caden." The
Yeah.
neck collar, the hickey thing, which I thought was that was fucking the stupidest thing ever too. That just irritated me. I didn't feel like it was necessary.
Yeah.
That scene didn't The only thing that scene did was stop her from winning the fight, and I feel like she could have done 10 other things differently. Fuck, 25 things differently than have her be drugged and sexually assaulted. Like, she wasn't raped, but she was sexually assaulted. And I just feel like that
Yeah,
that
for
wasn't
sure.
necessary. It didn't drive the story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree. Yeah. I mean, for me there was too much that happened, It's one of those things, like, and we've kind of touched on this before. It's There's a level where you have to like suspend belief, right? Like, we're obviously living in this author's world. Things aren't going to be realistic, but there's only so much that I feel like an author can get away with and it still be a plausible story. I'm not saying it can't be a good story, but plausible.
Mhm.
And I think there were just too many elements, or too many, like, kind of like what you were saying, like things that kept happening to her in like such a short amount of time too. Like, she has one sexual assault 3 years ago, then she's off the radar for 3 years, and then all of a sudden, in like a span of a handful of months, she's had all of this other bad shit happen. And the lack of plausibility there just, kind of takes me out of the story.
Mhm.
I did really like that he was essentially
Yes,
unhinged.
that was my favorite part
That's
too.
with her. Or like, if he when he was unhinged with her, it was the same level of unhinged like she liked.
Yes.
And of course, I loved the dog. Like, I want a murder, and I loved the dog so much. I love that he was afraid of the dog.
Yes.
That cracked me up so much. I really liked her dad. I wish he had done more to protect her. But again, it's one of those, like, you're living in the author's world. It's not possible for like whatever rhyme or reason. But I really liked her dad.
Do you know what I really, really liked about this? Is that the
What?
females were in charge of the gangs.
Yeah.
I liked that twist. I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often.
No, you don't. Yeah, that was definitely a rarity, and that's definitely something that I always like
Yeah,
seeing,
I wish they would
women
have
and
focused on it a little bit more.
well, I think his sister gets a whole book.
Well, I know the next one is Xi, X, I. I don't know how you say his name. X, I just
I would say Zai.
okay, Xi. Wow. I'm 2 for 2 on names today, this morning. And I didn't even like the book. Although, I do wanna throw this out. A friend of mine who listens to the podcast, she's like, "I can always tell, Misty, when you like the book because you remember the character's name."
Yep, every time, every time. It
Oh.
yeah, it cracks
And then if I don't really care about the book or the character, I don't know. I know his is second because I after I finished the ebook, it said, "Oh, want to stay in this world?" And then Zai's book was next, so
yeah, I have 0 interest
oh,
in
yeah,
reading
I don't
Zai's
fucking
book.
care. Unless he's with the girl Ella from the sex party that Caden goes to, that would be
Oh, I'm
interesting.
sure he is.
I don't know. I just know that he likes the girls in the uniform, and
Oh,
I don't know, it didn't confirm if she was underage or not, it just said that she went to the prep school and I don't know if that's the high school or the college or how it works with
right.
the Stoneview elites or whatever you wanna call them.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was another, like, element of the story that I mean, I see what she like, the author was doing, and I see why she did it, but I just didn't think it was necessary, I guess?
I'm conflicted with it too because he needed a means to make money that wasn't for the gang. So I understand the
Right.
tutoring, and then, I mean, if he's good looking and he can compartmentalize. I didn't like the sex club thing, though.
Yeah, I think that's where it went too far for me. Like, I feel like there was something else he could have done,
Or
like, to make that
yeah,
money
or the
or
fighter could have wanted something else, like, maybe, instead of getting the money to
yeah,
leave, she coulda like, "I need you to help me to escape." Like, you
yeah.
got means and motive, like
I think that's kind of the theme of the book for me is it would have been better if it didn't go so far.
mhm.
Like if you had culled some of the darker scenes, if you had given like alternatives to like what you were saying instead of her being drugged and sexually assaulted, something else happens where she loses the fight. Like I think again, I think it
Yeah.
goes too far in some
I
instances.
think it would have been better if, like, maybe, like, Jade had, like, drugged her before the fight, right? Because Jade doesn't like her. And I
Yeah.
didn't like that we didn't get the conclusion of what her punishment was with Ellie and Ethan. So, I would definitely be interested to reading their book, especially if it's a throuple
Oh yeah.
or
Yeah, I
menage.
think
I
that.
think it would probably be menage because I think they're brothers, so they wouldn't be having sex together. But
Yeah, probably Minaj.
I would definitely be interested in reading theirs, but I wanna know what Jade's punishment is, and I wanna see them get with somebody. Maybe they get with Ella. Who knows? That would be fun. But I agree that so the things that I liked that the females ran the gangs. I liked that she was a fighter, but she wasn't really a damsel in distress. Like, she had not
Right.
only physical strength, but, like, intrinsic strength as well, and I think that's very important for a main female character, but they also put
Yeah.
her in, like you said, with her, we didn't really have to suspend the disbelief because they put her in positions that we knew that even though she had the strength that she couldn't, like, going up against 3 guys pinning her down, like, because she was so small. Yeah, she can fight, but once she's down, like, there's nothing that can be done, or the same thing with Zai, like, bear hugging her to trap her to where she can't escape, like, I like that, but it didn't make her weak. Yes, it might have made her a
Right.
little
Yeah.
bit vulnerable, but it still didn't make her weak, and it didn't make people look down upon her because of that weakness.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I liked that Caden was unhinged with everybody and with her, but I loved how he's like and he, like, embraced it. He's like, "Look, MF." You know that nobody can control me, and you wanna talk shit about that in front of me? Go ahead, say it one more time and see what happens. Because once I
Yeah.
lose it, I'm losing it, and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, he was nuts. I think he might be. I'm trying to think if there's any other character that we've read that would match
His
like
level?
his level of unhinged.
Oh, as it like a podcast or, like, just reading?
No, like for like the books that we've read
Okay.
for the podcast. Like
Whew.
I can't think of any other. Maybe the we talk about this series a lot. The
Dead
Dead
Sailors?
Soldiers and Yep, Dead Soldiers and Tailors. I think those guys, like the one standoffish guy, he was right. He was the one that was
I don't
really
know, one of them was
pretty.
unhinged. But his was more, if I remember correctly, was that there was 4 or 5 of them, 2 brothers,
I think there was
the
four.
Sheik prince dude.
Yeah, and then the son, right?
The son is a brother. Wait, what?
Sure.
Son like SON?
Yeah.
The son of the head of the crime syndicate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there's the son, and then he has his brother, so there's 2. Then there's the Sheik prince that they get kidnapped in book 2 because of whatever. Then there's at least one more. I don't know what the fuck his name is,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was stupid. There
Couldn't
had to
tell
have
you.
been at least one more, right?
Yeah, there was definitely four. I don't remember five.
I don't know if he was if he was unhinged, we didn't see it on paper. Like, there may have been an air of unhinginess with him. Unhinginess. Is that
Unhinginess can be a word.
okay,
It's
okay,
fine.
okay.
Okay, but wasn't because wasn't it the he was very eccentric, wasn't he? Like he was the one that maybe eccentric is a better word for who I'm thinking about in that book.
I can think of maybe possibly
Wait, it wasn't that book that they did like the pyramid torture thing? They were fucking unhinged.
okay. Wait, pyramid torture.
Right? It was that book, right? Where they suspended the guy above the pointy pyramid thingy and
Yes. Okay,
fastened
okay,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, unhinged. Okay. There are some other ones that might be close to it. No one has to know. Maybe not.
No.
Her soul to take the demon dude.
Okay. I feel like monsters slash
Don't
demons
count.
slash creatures shouldn't
Okay,
count
okay, okay,
because
okay, okay. And then the only other one I would think, well, there could be. Okay, you said monsters and demons don't count. Driving My Obsession, was he unhinged?
oh yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah, he was pretty
I don't
unhinged.
remember if Unholy Vows if he was unhinged or not.
I wouldn't. He was so
Yeah,
controlled.
I would second that.
I don't think you could. I think you could. I don't think you could consider him. Woo, that's a tongue twister. Unhinged
Okay.
because he was way too
Okay.
calculated.
So yeah, we've read a couple.
And then the Four Horsemen series, they were a little
Yeah, but we
unhinged.
didn't do that for the podcast. We still haven't done that episode for the
Oh, that's
podcast.
right. I forgot. Spoiler alert.
Maybe one day.
If we ever decide to record that episode, since we read that series like 3.5 years ago.
That was our first buddy read, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Mhm.
That's the series that started it
Yeah, it
all.
is. We'll have to do a special episode for that.
Be like, hey, we don't recommend reading this, but it's the one that started
Yep,
everything. So
we're
here we
gonna
go.
share our thoughts.
Yeah, I think those are probably, and I mean, and he really pushes the envelope of
Dub Num Com. Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah.
For sure.
Maybe Riot. Riot was pretty
I
unhinged
don't know if he was
from the
unhinged more as he was calculated.
ritual.
Yeah.
I don't know. My view on that
Well, that's why
is so
that's why I skipped that book. I'm like, I'm not even bringing it up. I'm like, we're Jen.
we don't want to send Jen into another ritual rant. Don't mention it. Don't look at
Yep,
it.
it's not there. Doesn't exist. Did I send you the link
It's
for the
funny.
special edition covers that she's doing for that series? They're so pretty.
No,
Okay. But
but send it to me because I need to
I know.
see.
Okay. So, yeah, like He definitely pushed the envelope of dub nom-com for sure. But I feel like
Yeah.
that was kind of their thing.
Yeah, I don't necessarily we know, like, that's probably my least favorite, like, kink.
Mhm.
That's really not my kink at all. But I do think the author did a good job of, yes, it was dub non-con, but she did a good job of giving us the inner monologue of Billy,
Mhm.
like, make it okay.
Yes.
And I didn't know, I don't think I would have finished the book if that element wasn't there.
I agree. And also because the author did a really good job of laying it out beforehand. So, like, when
Mhm.
like, when they're eating and having the hamburgers, he's like, "Well, how would you do it?" And then he, like, essentially, like, was preparing her of, like, "This will happen because you're going to piss me off, and I am crazy, and I'm just gonna take what I want because you are mine, and that's just the end of it."
Yeah.
So, I think that that also helped because she wasn't surprised or shocked by it. I mean, maybe, like, in the moment that it was happening then and there, but not what he said that he was going to do and how he did it.
Yeah, agreed.
So, I do have one question that I wanna ask you.
Oh boy.
Would you consider this a bully romance?
Yeah?
Yeah? Okay. I just wanted to make sure because in the times that we've talked about it, you hadn't brought it up, and I know you hate bullying, and I know, like, I have, like, 5 bully books that I want you to read. So, I wanna, like, gauge your reaction on this so I know which ones to push towards you more.
Yeah, I mean, if so I would consider it a bully read, but and it goes back to what I just said, like, you get the inner monologue with her and she's okay with everything. Like, you don't get that outright consent like you get in Lights Out that I loved so
Mhm.
much, but you get the inner monologue that, for me, gives the consent that, like, everything's cool. And that's what was missing in, like, Corrupt. At no point did I feel like she was safe with those people. And I think that's, oh my god, I think I just had an epiphany. I think that's why I hate the book. She never felt safe to me. And I think that's why I hate Ritual too, because she never felt safe to me with her people. I think that's the thing that makes me, if I feel like the character is safe with their main person, then I can just about say, okay, you're good with anything. But, like, if I don't feel like that character is actually safe with their person, then I don't enjoy the book. Holy shit,
Wow.
that is, like, such a huge revelation.
And we got it all on camera too.
All on camera.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
that helps. I'm glad. I'm glad that you had this moment.
yeah, that's
It
crazy.
is.
Yeah, I think that's the key identifier.
Okay. That helps. I don't know if that's gonna help with you reading the books, but that helps.
Now I know how badly you're gonna suffer.
So I can just like, "Okay, Jen, you got your whiskey or your bourbon or whatever, 'cause you're gonna need it when you read this book."
Oh no.
I think that that's only probably going to it's been so long since I've read, the Devil's Night series, so I can't
Mhm.
Did you finish Corrupt? I can't remember if you did.
I mean, I counted it as a finish. I skimmed, like, the last, I think,
Okay,
20%.
so then you know that they get
Uh,
together, so
yeah, yeah,
okay, okay. That's my least favorite couple in that series.
I know.
Okay. Alright, well, that's just what I wanted to know. I'm glad that I finally finished this book, like, a million years later, and that we could discuss it.
Yeah, me too. It's interesting that I didn't really enjoy the book while I was reading, but I couldn't put it down. And I don't really, like, it's not something I would recommend to somebody, but it's a book that I find myself thinking about every now and again, where I'm just like, Man, that shit was crazy.
Yeah. I feel like that's
Like,
that actually, I'm glad that you bring that up because I also feel like that about a lot of things that I read. I would never recommend half the stuff that I read to people, and it's not always because it's enjoyable like you said, but it's just like I need to know what happens and I need to continue, and then it sets with you for quite some time. I'm pretty sure I
yeah.
bookmarked a scene in here that I thought was hilarious, but it didn't come up on my what is this page? Oh, yeah. So one of my favorite scenes was when Caden and Billy run into Jake, and Caden was like, "It's nice to meet you, Jake." And then Billy's like, "Oh my god." Jake doesn't understand when Caden says that it practically means that they're best friends. She's like, "Oh my god." I marked that scene because it was just funny having her internal monologue. Because she's like, what does she say? She says, "I don't even think Jake understands what it means to hear that from Caden. Nice to meet you." He's essentially telling him they're best friends now only because he understood that they have the same type of evil inside them. And I was like, that was great.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that, and that was pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Well, I'm glad that we went on this journey together. I don't think I have really anything. I mean, there's a lot of shit that we could pick on for sure
Yeah.
about it. But I think we pretty much covered the big things.
Yeah, I think so
So
too.
we good for ratings?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, darkness. 4?
At least. I mean, you have everything on
That
page.
is true, you do.
Like, I think you could. What if we rated a 5? Sea of Ruin was a
Sea of
5.
Ruin was a 5, As She's Told is a 5, and
Well, As She's Told is in her own category. As She's Told needs to be like can't be rated because it's so twisted.
let's see. I think those are the only 2 that we had. Yeah, As She's Told and Sea of Ruin are the only 2 that we have 5s, and then coming up under that, we have Dead Soldiers versus Tailors as 4, and we have The Ritual
Okay,
as 4.
then we have to put this as a
Yeah,
4.
I agree. 4 for sure.
Yeah,
Spicy, 4.
I'll. Okay, I honestly don't remember
Well, I
like
mean,
from it.
there's a lot of sex. It's not all the
Yeah.
same. He does take her. I mean, then there's the primal play where he has her, like, run through the woods in the skirt,
Oh
like,
yeah.
I feel like because it has dub nom com, I feel like it needs to be higher,
Yeah.
so that's why I say a 4.
Well, and then you take into account his. I mean, they didn't do a ton on page. Like they didn't do any like explicit scene when he's like
Mhm.
sex working. But I mean, you have that element of it too.
So I would say a 4. I would definitely say a 4.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
And then overall,
What are you rating it? Okay, wait. Hold on. On the count of 3.
hold up a finger or say it out loud.
Yes. Yeah. Well, okay. We'll hold up a finger and then we'll say it out loud.
Hold on, I gotta think for a second. Okay, I'm ready.
Are you
Yeah,
ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3.
3. You're gonna give it a 2?
I was almost gonna give it a 3, but I thought you were gonna give it a 2. I'm surprised you gave it a 3. Why a
I'm
3? I need to know the
I'm
whole
giving it a
3.
3 for all the reasons why I said that I liked it. Like, I feel like we got a strong female character. I don't think there were many scenes that she pissed me off in, right? I loved
No.
the little bit of things that helped set it.
Mhm.
Like the females being in charge of the gangs and like her being the fighter and like them both wanting to leave. And I really liked that he was unhinged. Those 2 scenes, the being friends, and then he's like, "Baby, it's all you. I don't make sense now because of you." Like, that scene, like, really was pivotal in my liking this book. And the fact that while he pushed her boundaries, he was still respectful. And I know that's a
Yeah.
really hard thing for people to understand if they don't read this sort of thing or have read the book, but I feel like,
Yeah.
especially after Sawyer did what he did to her, and she's like, "You need to leave
Yeah.
because I need to heal, like, I'm done, like, you weren't there, da 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 da." He gave her the 3 months like, he was still stalking her,
Right.
obviously, because that's just what unhinged boyfriends do, but he was still giving her the space that she needed to heal, to get back into the ring, to fight, to win. So, I don't know. I liked it even though it was gonna be a DNF. This was gonna be on our DNF list. We were never gonna read it. I would have never known unless Jen kept on saying, "Misty, you gotta finish the book. I keep on thinking about it. You gotta
Yeah,
finish this book so we could talk about it." And now here we are.
yeah.
So, it gets 3 stars.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm struggling in not well, okay, I'm gonna give it a 3, and I'll tell you why I decided to change my answer. Because I couldn't put it down.
Mhm.
That's literally, honestly, the only reason why I'm gonna give it a 3, and I think I actually said something very similar about Sea of Ruin when I
Mhm.
did my TikTok video about it. I could not put it down. I didn't want to give up on the character, so there's gotta be I mean, if you're that invested in the character, then I think that's telling.
I agree. Yeah. And I also think that because there's such a great story behind this book that it just makes me, like, giddy and chuckle about, "Oh, it took, like, 8 months to read it," and then, like, there's also this positive buddy read funny feeling that comes with it that also promotes the endorphins. You're like, "Oh, I'm gonna give it a 3 instead of the 1 that it probably deserves because of all these great things."
Yeah, but I would read another of her books. So I looked at the series. The next one's
Okay.
Eyes. The following one is Jade and the Brothers.
Don't tell me she ends up with them.
I mean, it says that they punish her, or who? Wait, the girl that they're supposed to be with, isn't her name Jade? That's
Jade is
Jade,
the
right?
one who beat Billy and had issues with Billy. Yes, they're in love with her, but I didn't want them to be with her. I want them to be with somebody else.
Oh no, that's who they
Oh,
end up with.
fuck.
You're talking about Elliot and
Ethan, yes.
yeah,
Yes. After all the shit she did
uh-huh.
because she was jealous of Billy being with
Mhm.
Kaden, those boys deserve somebody better.
I don't disagree with that actually.
And then fucking with Sawyer too? Like, no.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. And then the final book is
Emma?
Kayla's
Oh,
book.
Kayla. Oh.
Yeah.
So Kayla gets a book, not
Mhm.
Emma. Unless her story's in the background.
Maybe.
You know whose story I would really like?
Hmm.
Malik and Sam's. Zai's brother. Lick and Sam, the hitman.
Oh yeah, I love Sam. He was so fun. I forgot about him,
Yeah, he
but
didn't
now
do
that
a
you
lot of
said that,
talking, but he said a lot just standing there.
yes, I loved Sam. He was so fun. Yeah, I'd read it. Maybe, probably, eventually.
And it would be an MM, so
I haven't read an MM in a minute.
okay.
I don't think I read an MM all last year, actually.
Did
Now that
I
I'm
read an
thinking about
MM
it.
last year? Yes, I did. I read quite a few.
Yes, you did.
Okay. I know what to put on our list now.
Well, I owe you that one MM, I
You
think,
do.
right?
Yes, there is one. But there's another one that's been on my TBR for a long time, so maybe we can do a buddy read.
All right. So are we all wrapped
Yeah, I
up?
think we're good.
Beautiful.
Oh,
All right. Let us know. Have you read Beautiful Fiend by Lola King? Have you read anything else by Lola King? We would love to hear from you all. Tag us on Instagram in your stories at Bones of the Story, and we'll see you next week.
thank you for joining us on the journey into the shadows of love, where dark romance stories come to light.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Bones of the Story as much as we did. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us.
And to stay updated on all things dark romance, follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
We'd also love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, ideas, or even your own dark romance stories with us. Drop us a line at bonesofthestory@gmail.com.
Remember, our next tantalizing episode is just around the corner, so keep your hearts open and your senses sharp.
Until then, embrace the darkness and let the stories continue to stir your deepest desires.
This is Misty,
And Jen,
signing off
from Bones of the Story.